The ancient Egyptian religion was a complex system of beliefs and rituals. The multitude of deities were believed to control the forces and elements of nature. The religious practices were efforts to provide for the gods and gain their favor. The formal religious practices were centered on Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. The Pharaoh was believed to be descended from gods. He acted as an agent between his people and the gods. He was obligated to sustain the gods through rituals and offerings so that they could maintain order in the universe. Another aspect of religion was the belief in afterlife. After the death, it was believed that the soul of the deceased enters the underworld. The underworld was believed to be mirror image of the real world. To ensure the survival of their souls after death, funerary practices were followed. These practices were preservation of body, providing tombs, grave goods and wealth, and offerings from time to time to preserve the body and the spirits of the deceased. After the death, the soul was believed to travel in a boat to the other world. The boat was called solar boat, and it was believed to be guided by sun god and protected by other deities. Amongst the plethora of deities, three were central. They were the sun god Ra, the creator god Amun, and the mother goddess Isis. Sometimes the roles of the two gods were merged in a single deity called Amun-Ra. The deities were identified by the head crown or the animal face. In addition, there were cartouches, that is name tags, carved or painted to identify the deity. The overall religious practice were endured, even through several periods of foreign rule, until the coming of Christianity in the early centuries AD. Kom Ombo town is located on the Great Bend of Nile. It was a site of a training center for African elephants. The elephants were trained to fight the 500 Indian war elephants donated by Chandragupta Maurya to Seleucus. This project of Ptolemy was a failure. The temple at Kom Ombo is unique. It is almost perfectly symmetrical double temple. The right side of the temple is dedicated to Sebekre and the left to Horasis, the good doctor. In general, the temples were constructed on level land. The courtyards and their gates, called pylons, were perfectly aligned. The layout used to be rectangular. The pharaoh used to measure the land and lay out the temple plan. There are carvings depicting the process. The sanctum was marked first, and then the whole temple was constructed in stages spanned over many years. The Karnak temple had 6 pylons or gates. They were constructed by different dynasties. 2 granite monolith obelisks are still in upright state. The hypostyle halls and colonnades were for common people. There were separate gates for the nobles. Only the high priest and a pharaoh would enter the sanctum. The orientation of the temple was important. In temples where religious ceremony of manifestation of Re was observed, the orientation of the temple and its architecture was given special attention. The Karnak and the Abu Simbel temples were such temples. In the manifestation of Re, sun shone in the sanctum and illuminated the sun god on the day of summer solstice. The Abu Simbel temple was constructed by Ramses II. It was dedicated to Amen, Horus, Ptah, and Ramses. The temple would have submerged in the Lake Nasser when Aswan High Dam was constructed, but for the international efforts to save it. The temples carved into a cliff face were dismantled and reconstructed at a higher elevation, maintaining the orientation. The cliff face and the hill was recreated. The artificial hill covers the concrete dome structure covering the sanctum of the temple and air circulation plant. It was essential for the comfort of the hundreds of tourists present at a time inside the temple. At the entrance of the temple, there are 4 20-meter tall statues of Ramses. They represent 4 stages of his life. In the center, there is a statue of Horus. In the second temple, Ramses II worships goddess Hathor along with his wife Nefertiti. The terraced temple constructed by Queen Hatshepsut is one of the most unique monuments of Egypt. Senumet was the architect of this unprecedented architectural marvel. The temple is set against the backdrop of a cliff which separates the Valley of Kings from the Nile Valley. It has 3 terraces. These terraces emphasize the breadth of the temple. The first terrace was having circular ponds with fishes and many fragrant trees, a kind of oasis in a desert. Today the terraces are bare. There is a simple, not so elegant memorial to the 62 tourists killed in a terrorist attack of 1997. The temples used to impress the common people of Egypt of the strength and achievements of the pharaoh. Even in the ruined state, the temples leave a permanent impression on the visitors.